Hey, how's it going, everybody, and welcome back into the SFS channel. My name's Gavin, and today we've got 5 must-add players from the waiver wire here in Week 4 fantasy football action. These are players that I think have great chances to, at some point this season, have a lineup starting caliber performances and be the quality of players that we're looking for to be deployed out in our lineups, whether it's from the injuries that just happen as a natural part of the season that we're going through right now, being already into Week 4 with some guys getting banged up and missing time, or if it's simply just emerging and breaking out in your offense and proving that you've got a justifiable role that has enough volume and usage to be a productive fantasy player. So with that being said, drop down and give today's video a like and click that subscribe button if you're new around here. There's a bunch of you that we would love to have join the community and grow this thing with us here this season. So with that being said, let's hit that intro and get straight in to our first player. Alrighty, this one is the number 1 player. I'm going to say go out there and make this your top priority ad this week. Obviously, we saw this last week play out and have a big-time return with Alex Madison and the Minnesota Vikings. He came in and had, 19 fantasy points and half PPR scoring in relief of Dalvin Cook. Over 100 yards rushing when the star running back missed that performance against the Seahawks in Week 3. Same deal here. Thursday Night Football, Christian McCaffrey pulls up. Whatever he did to his hamstring, a strain, some sort of injury has occurred there. We have yet to really understand the true timeline and return timeline table for when to expect McCaffrey back in lineups, but clearly that makes Chuba Hubbard a top waiver wire ad, as you're going to get a quality starting level fantasy performer out of this pickup here. Chuba's only rostered in 11% of ESPN fantasy leagues, and he had 14 touches post Christian McCaffrey's injury, which happened early in the second quarter of that ballgame. So something that's a little bit concerning and something that I would note is that Royce Freeman also might be worth a pickup in deeper leagues, as he was seeing some of that goal line volume. But again, Chuba Hubbard's probably going to be that guy on first and second down, the change of pace player that's going to be really doing the dirty work for this team. I think that his touchdown ceiling might be a bit limited because he's not the biggest back in the world, and I think Royce fills that role a little bit better. The two of them are going to have to collectively try and make up for the lost volume of McCaffrey, and Coach Matt Rule actually said it's going to be more of an impact to the Panthers run game, or excuse me, the Panthers receiving game, as opposed to that run game, because what Christian McCaffrey adds as a check down back and scheming up screens and all those excellent plays that they make for him, that's going to be a big void to be filled in this offense. So moving forward, though, again, Chuba Hubbard is the most valuable pickup for this Carolina Panthers backfield. You're going to want to have him out there. His ceiling is not as high as McCaffrey. We're not going to see those levels of productions from him. But if you're a Christian McCaffrey owner, you need to go out and make this choice. And if you are also any other fantasy player, go out there and don't let CMC's owner pick up Chuba. This would be a big-time loss to not take advantage of. You could potentially find yourself a key contributor in your starting lineup for 2, maybe even 3 weeks, depending on how long and how extensive that injury is. It could be Christian McCaffrey's back this week. Again, at this time, we don't know that. But it could also be a few weeks, and we could be missing him for, like I said, 2 or 3 games. So very, very crucial, very, very important that we go out here and address Chuba Hubbard this week as our top waiver wire pickup. Emmanuel Sanders for the Buffalo Bills. He has been such a dependable vet for a handful of teams over the past 3-4 years or so. The 49ers, the Saints, now the Bills. Emmanuel Sanders has bounced around since his time in Denver. Here he is now. This is his 5th NFL team, I believe. He started with the Pittsburgh Steelers way back, like over 10 years ago. Now with the Bills, he's come in. He had his breakout week. Stephon Diggs had a bit of a quiet outing. Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley stepped up and had major performances. Sanders is only rostered in 23% of ESPN leagues. He had 5 receptions, 94 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He is a very capable player who can be used as a qualified and skilled deep threat and also add some explosion after the catch. A really, really nice player if you're looking for some wide receiver depth and need some help. It doesn't hurt that he's tied to Josh Allen, one of the top quarterbacks in the game. Emmanuel had 2 of Allen's 5 total touchdowns today in a very impressive win over the Washington football team. Hunter Renfrow. This one's been a bit surprising. Hunter Renfrow last season had a really, really low ceiling. But this year, I've seen not only his floor increase, but his ceiling has as well. As we've seen his Raiders' run game deteriorate, as we've seen their efficiency fall even further below expectations, Hunter Renfrow's been more involved. Bryan Edwards and Henry Ruggs have been very good as well, but Renfrow only being rostered in 11% of leagues gives a great deal of fantasy managers out there the potential to add him, and in PPR formats, this is a great situation. 6 or more targets in each of the first 3 fantasy matchups. So far this season, he had 5 for 77 yards and a touchdown in the overtime win against the Miami Dolphins this week. Renfrow's just dependable. He's Derek Carr's go-to check-down guy. If he's under pressure, if he's looking for just a dependable bailout option, he seems to be the short and intermediate player on the field that makes those receptions for him, Darren Waller's the downfield stretching ability type player, the red zone target, the number one option in this offense. Henry Ruggs is another big play guy. Renfrow is, again, that safety blanket and that security, that dependable face that Derek Carr looks to. So you're going to see a consistent turnover of week-to-week production from Renfrow. I think this could potentially be a very underrated start. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Julian Edelman. I don't think we've seen such a shifty slot receiver with such good route running and secure hands since then. Not quite to the level of Edelman's game just yet, but a very, very dependable option here. And I think that moving forward, he could be a sneaky pickup for the entirety of the season because of his role and usage in that offense. Christian Kirk here. This is one where it's going to be kind of like, I don't want to compare this offense to Tampa Bay because there's a lot of very extreme differences, but you know the level of that odd man out feeling that you get from Tampa Bay where every week someone has to be kind of pushed out of the picture in terms of the production broad perspective for a given week. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Gronk, and AB can't all produce in the same game. Just like Christian Kirk, AJ Green, Rondale Moore, and DeAndre Hopkins can't all produce in the same game. There's too many mouths to feed, but the ceiling is there every single week. The floor may not be, but that ceiling is certainly present. Christian Kirk has had 2 very productive fantasy performances with over 13 points in half PPR scoring. Again this week, he went out there, had over 100 yards. He's a talented player. He is a very established deep route runner in this league, and he can make big plays down the field. I think on a given week, it's hard to tell exactly who is the number 2 in this offense. It's clear that DeAndre Hopkins is the number 1 pass catcher here, but AJ Green and Christian Kirk both around that 100-yard performance marker. Rondale Moore the week before was an electric performer, but really quiet here in week 3. A lot of things to digest in this Cardinals offense, but Christian Kirk's ceiling is there. That makes him warranting a roster spot for me in 12 or more fantasy team leagues. Again, this is a ceiling play. He's probably boom or bust on a week-to-week basis, but so far we've got 2 boom performances to 1 below average game. I wouldn't even go out and call it a bust game, but it was obviously less than our expectations. So Christian Kirk, he's got a dynamic quarterback, one of the best deep ball throwers in the league, and obviously one of the best playmakers in just terms of making plays out of nothing and getting outside the pocket, scrambling, and launching that ball down the field. Kyler Murray certainly looks like he's one of the best in the league this year. And then Cordarrelle Patterson. So we've actually got a bonus name on today's episode. That is our next player, but our 5th name on the list is Cordarrelle Patterson. Makes the list for the 2nd straight week. Look, his value on this Atlanta Falcons roster was completely unexpected, but it is a very real thing. As a receiving threat out of the backfield, Cordarrelle Patterson has done a massive amount of production in the last 2 weeks. 2 touchdowns against Tampa Bay in week 3. This week, nothing too spectacular, 20 yards on the ground, but 6 receptions for 82 yards through the air. That is a force to be reckoned with. And you're talking about a player who's owned in under 60% of leagues. He was obviously snatched up a lot last week after a strong performance, but he's continued that week over week now. He's shown us he is an integral part of this Falcons offense. He will be utilized. He does have a role there. And this team is looking for playmakers right now. They're trying to find someone to step up and fill the void of Julio Jones, and that volume is being scattered across the board to a variety of players. Cordarrelle just happens to be the guy right now who stepped up and sees control of that opportunity. And for a guy you can play at your running back position, for RB2 needy teams and PPR formats, you might be desperate. It might not be the safest pick in the world, but he's at least producing with the touches and opportunity he's been given. And then how about Kadarius Toney? This is one that I think is really interesting, probably more of a pickup in really deep leagues, 12, 14, 16-man leagues with a deep roster. But with Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton both going down with hamstring injuries, that leaves Kenny Golladay and Saquon Barkley as offensive weapons, and Evan Ingram. What is the 3 things, or what one thing do those 3 players have in common? They are also all injury prone. they are dropping like flies in that skill room for the New York Giants. Daniel Jones has got to throw the ball to somebody. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that Shepard and Slayton are going to miss time next week. That's unknown. We have yet to see that unfold, and that will be something we learn more about this week. But Kadarius Toney, being a first-round pick, has barely seen the field for the Giants. He will get out there sometime this season. The work he can do after the catch, how electric he is in space, they need to find a better usage role for him and get him the football. That has a great chance to happen with two of the starting wide receivers for this team out. So again, we don't know for certain if they're going to be unavailable next week, but if they are, Kadarius Toney is a dynamic playmaker that could make something happen for this offense. So here's your bonus player. Go take a look at Kadarius Toney in those deeper leagues. Alrighty, that was 5, but really 6 must-add players for Week 4 fantasy football action. As always, if you've got questions about your teams and leagues, drop those down in the comment section below. Maybe you've got trades, lineup advice, or considering adding another player to your roster, wondering who to drop, whatever the case is. I'm happy to help, and as soon as I can get back to you, I will do so. So, thank you all so much for watching today's video. I will see you guys tomorrow. Before you do that, make sure to go check out some of the other episodes I've posted here today for Fantasy Football Week 4 action. And then I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.